what is the future of CrossFit and what is the future of CrossFit Games? I know I have already seen just via social media that there's a number of CrossFit gyms out there who already started to de-affiliate because they don't agree with the negligence that was on show in event 1 and the CrossFit Games, which I can totally understand. I don't know where we sit currently. I guess I am going to be waiting, and I'm sure Ed will also be waiting until we figure out what the actual news is that comes out of the third-party investigation. Also, just on that, I'll be interested to know if we get full transparency of that, or if CrossFit have hired out a third party to do the investigation. Do they get control of the information that comes out? Kind of like the drug tests they've done in the past, where they kind of drip feed information out. So that'll be interesting to see. But do you think we'll see let's assume that CrossFit Games still goes ahead next year. The 2025 Games is coming and the season will start with the Open. Do you think we'll see less participation in the Open? Do you think we'll see less affiliates hosting the CrossFit Open because of this year's Games?
I think that's going to depend heavily on what happens in the next 5 months. Oh, not 5 months, sorry. Obviously up until then, but until any sort of information comes out, whether there has been untruthfulness in the first couple of days or first couple of hours after the thing happened from their side, I think that's going to obviously be a big factor in it. Or if they withheld information from the community, I think one of the big talking points was the lack of information they gave out, I think, close to the incident. I mean, I was on Instagram looking through comments every 5 seconds to see if anybody who was there made an update. And I think that's also why I think people are getting a bit tired. It seems like it's almost like a very closed off sort of thing when it's preached as a very inclusive community. It's like the community is one thing, but we are a separate entity essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I think so. Not related to this, but I think it's been on a steady decline. So I've got this. All my thoughts now are from, I guess, Hiller's videos and might even be Craig Ritchie. I'm not sure, but it's from YouTube videos. There's been a steady decline in numbers in terms of affiliates and in the participation in the Open pre-COVID and after COVID. So 2014, 2019, when you had a different media team before the media team got fired with all the hype, the participation rates were as highest compared to now. Same thing for the affiliates in terms of like the decline, where I guess the CEO is saying one thing, but the numbers actually point to another thing. And I think that with what happened with this year, the 2024 CrossFit Games, I think there might be that decline will continue into 2025. Also seeing if you see the stats on the age group of people that are taking part in the Open, it's the people that we're not getting the new generation in terms of, the 20-year-olds or the teenagers.
I actually got the stats here, so hold your thought. So from the 18 to 34 age group, from 2023 to 2024, there's been a 1.7% increase from the year. So small. Yeah. Then we look at the masters. Yeah. So that's 35 all the way up to 65 plus. There's been an 11.9 increase. Yeah. So a lot bigger increase in participation. And then teens has actually gone down 2.5% over the last year.
Yeah, I think on that, I think people from the age groups are moving up in age group. Does that make sense? So we're not getting fresh blood into the sport. And I also think with other options now for competing, #hybrid athlete, with High Rocks and other options.
You are not a hybrid athlete. I think the only reason you're a hybrid athlete is because you have the world record slowest time for High Rocks. High Rocks Pro, that is. Sorry.
Okay, we've gone the entire podcast without roasting me. Let's give it that way.
I was just about to say, you opened that door.
I know. I'm sort of myself there. But I think, so I think unless something, not just one thing, I think a lot of things need to change. First, with what happens in the aftermath now, 2024 Games, with how they communicate with everyone, the athletes, the spectators, and then with the affiliates. And then next is with the whole media team, if they can get back to the heights of pre-COVID, stuff like that. I think there are a lot of things that need to change for it to get back up in terms of participation.
What's Meg?
I don't know. Like, I've been seeing a lot of things on social media about how CrossFit needs to take massive accountability and like CrossFit needs to be shut down and there's been like a lot of hype around those kind of conversations.
I don't agree with that stuff, by the way.
No,
That's my personal opinion.
I don't either, which is what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
I think CrossFit.
Sorry for interruption.
That's okay. You're like, I just want to put that out there. But I think a lot of the people are seeing CrossFit as just the sport and not as everything else that it does.
Yeah.
So it's such a small part of everything that CrossFit actually does for affiliates and for training and education and for communities. It's a very small part of it is the actual CrossFit Games. And I think if the whole of HQ had to shut down because of a awful incident and negligence, I think it would be a disservice to a lot of people around the world.
Yeah.
More so than it would be making a point of negligence.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I want to happen with the games. I think there's been a lot of talk of like, oh, why doesn't another competition take over it and run it instead? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with Skulk. Like, I think a lot of it will kind of hinge and balance on what the investigation throws out. Yeah, I still feel a loyalty towards CrossFit.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm on the fence because I think some things went wrong, but I think they also still do a lot of good things for us. I think from an affiliate standpoint, I don't know if many people know this, but in Asia, we don't get much from CrossFit. You know, I get an email every day, which gives me the workout of the day. I get an email maybe once a week, which tells me about like some affiliate stats here and there. But really, we don't get much. Like we pay $3,000 a year to have the name CrossFit, and we don't even use the name CrossFit. Our gym's called Coastal. We use process programming. We don't have the CrossFit tag within our name, so we're technically not utilizing it to that extent, which is a bit silly now I think about it. But at the same time, like we actually don't really get much from it. I think we get maybe, I'd be able to count on one hand how many drop-ins we get via the CrossFit game, by the CrossFit.com website.
Right.
So I think we've been through stages, you know, when Glassman came out and made some public comments which were got a lot of heat. That was the first point where we questioned affiliation with CrossFit, and I guess this would be another part, another time to kind of reconsider it. But again, like I'm definitely not like, I don't have like my pitchfork out and like ready for someone's head right now. I just hope the investigation is fair. I hope the investigation brings closure to the family, and I hope it's transparent. That's like the only thing I'm hoping for. So I hope people don't just, you know, abandon ship right now because they're emotional and potentially irrational with thoughts. And I hope the community does band together. I know it's very much like you're either with us or you're against us right now. And you see that clearly on social media, which you all have access to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just hope the community can band together. And I think one thing that is really nice that you have seen is, you know, the Lazar Ðukić GoFundMe page, which we will link down below, has been amazing to see. I don't know if it's just across the community, but of course it's circling around across the community. I think they were looking to raise 300,000. They're well surpassed that. And, you know, without being overly morbid about the situation, like funeral costs and all of that sort of stuff, getting his body back to Serbia, where his home country is, like it costs a lot. So if this is one way like the CrossFit community can help ease the burden of it all on the family, I think that's an amazing thing. It's just one amazing thing that the CrossFit community is. I think when you watch all the news reports of the fire department and the police department and just news outlets, a lot of people have touched on the fact that the CrossFit community is so close. So I hope that this doesn't divide the community, and if it can bring the community back together.
I was going to ask you a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Everyone a question. Do you think that by CrossFit taking accountability, one person in particular or several people that are in management of HQ should take accountability and step down? Do you think that's a solution? Because a lot of people are asking that too.
It depends, you know, if you know, let's say it's Don Fall, for example, and he goes, I don't want to put X money into the health and safety budget at the CrossFit Games, and that is a direct representative of why X happened at the Games, which is Lazar Ðukić's death. then yeah, he should take the fall.
Right.
I mean, also, if you just got a bunch of yes men underneath you, then yes, maybe that also needs to change as well. But again, I'll wait. I'll wait until that day comes, and when we find out that information, if we ever get our hands on it. But until then, yeah, I don't know what really needs to change. Like,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have said like, get rid of Castro because he's an idiot for putting the swim after the run.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
No, me
I think the only thing I disagree with Dave Castro is like his silly handwriting on a whiteboard, which makes the sport look really budget every now and then. But otherwise, I quite like him as a personality within the sport. I think the sport lacks a personality because of its lack of professionalism.
Right.
If it was if everything else is very professionalized and Castro existed the way that he does, I feel like he would be like a misfit within it, and he wouldn't fit.
Right.
But because of the way that the sport is, I think he actually suits it very well. And I quite enjoy Castro's, childish banter every now and then. I actually quite like that. But like I said, if the sport wants to move to like the professional era, then he would either have to adapt and evolve with it, or you would have to bring someone else in.
Yeah.
And then we actually got someone actually asked that question: should Dave Castro resign? I don't think he should resign because of the death of Lazar Ðukić. I don't believe it's directly his fault unless the investigation shows it is. But yeah, like you said, I think any workout is unsafe if the health and safety protocols are not in place. So
100%.
I think he's probably the easiest person to point
He's
a
like your
finger to
fall guy,
because
yeah.
he's there.
Yeah.
He's the face you see all the time. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think most people don't even know what the CEO's name is probably. So
Comfortable.
there you go. I knew that, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on this. I think there's always like a scapegoat or someone that needs to resign just for the sake of it. But then nothing changes.
No.
So if something needs to change, I think the right person needs to take a step back. If it's not, then I don't think it's going to make a difference. I don't think any one person should be blamed unless there's an apparent reason from the investigation that says that person should be blamed.
Yeah.
So I don't know the right answer for this. Yeah, I don't have an answer for this. Yeah.
All right.